to Music at the Piano. In today's video, we're going to look at how to learn the Allegretto in G major by Alexander Reinagle. It's the Opus 1, number 11 from his 24 short and easy pieces. This does appear in the RCM 2022 syllabus as a level 3 piece because it is in G major, for one thing, and it involves certain shifts of the hand position and sometimes location of the hand. So the first thing I would do, even with an advanced student, is to make sure that they understood the rhythm correctly, because there's a lot of subdivisions and things where have to line up certain ways. So after you've made sure, and you can practice this on your own. If you're a self-learner, first of all, clap the right hand with me when I do this, and then rewind and clap the left hand with me, and then practice that, and then tap it hands together. So I'm going to try to put my hands where the camera is going to find them, and tap this rhythm hands together. So this is in cut time. That's also one of the first things we want to look at, is what is the meter, and that means that the half note, cut time is similar to 2/2 time. So the half note is the beat, the eighth note divides the beat, and the quarter note divides the beat, and the eighth note subdivides the beat. And you have an F sharp here. F sharp in the key signature means that you're using the scale of G major. The scale of G major goes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And if you're not familiar with scales, take a look at my or other people's scale videos so that you understand how this works. I'll put some links there. So G is the tonic and D is the dominant, and the leading tone is an F sharp because you need to have that half step from the leading tone to the tonic when you're in a major scale. Another way to, if you can't memorize that just an F sharp is the G major scale, with sharps you can always go up a half step from the last sharp, and that will give you the name of the tonic. So anyway, that's for starters. If you want to be sort of baby steps, you could count it in 4. I'll do it once counting it in 4 and then once counting it in 2. So here we go. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 E, and just kidding. I blew it already. I mixed my metaphors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Now that is counting it in 4/4. To count it in 2/2 or cut time, you would go 1 and 2 and 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2, going on. 1 and 2 and 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2. And that is where the half note gets the pulse. Now, after I had all that worked out, I would take a look at the intervals. So you're in the G major scale. You're going G, repeat, up a second, repeat, up a second, up a third, down a second, down a second, down a second, up a fifth. Repeat, down a second, down a second, down a second, up a third, down a second, down a second, down a second. And here you're going to smush, you're going to have your thumb here, then make your hands small and put your fifth finger on the beat. Up a third, down a second, down a second, down a second, up a second. Then you're going to lift your wrist and move your hand up to the G, an octave higher, using finger 4. This is one of the things that makes it a level 3 piece. G, repeat, down a minor second, repeat, down a second, up a second, down a third, down a second, and that you're going to end up with your thumb on the D, and then you're going to lift your wrist and move your hand and put finger 5 on the D. down a second, down a second, down a second, up a third, down a second, down a second, down a second, up a third. But again, it's that 1 to 5 where you contract your hand. It's just like if you're trying to hold something between your thumb and your 5th finger. Trying to hold something between your thumb and your 5th finger, which I don't recommend. It would be difficult. So that's your right hand intervals. Your left hand intervals, by the way, I have another video which I'll link where it shows my hand playing this if you want to see the hand and not the score. So there's G, an octave below treble G, and a half step above your F sharp, down a second, up a second, down a second to the F sharp, it's a minor second, down a third, up a second, up a second, up a second. And here's a 4th, here's a bigger interval, up a 4th. Now here you're going to have thirds, but because you're going so far, you're going further than you could go if you used consecutive fingering. You're going to have a third, but you're not going to skip a finger. You're going to use finger 2 on the E, up a third, down a 4th, but use finger 3, up a 4th, down a 5th, but use finger 4, up a 5th, down a 6th, and use finger 5 because you don't have a 6th finger, which is why you had to start on finger 4 here. Down a third, but here you have to go back to finger 3 on the E, up a second because of what comes later. Down a 4th, up a 4th. Let me just go over that one more time. So you're going to do finger 2 on this E, up a third, down a 4th to finger 3, up a 4th, down a 5th to finger 4, up a 5th, down a 6th to finger 5, up a 6th, down a third, but bring your hand back in, finger 3, up a second, down a 4th, up a 4th. All right. And then if you want to do the solfege, it goes like this. And I'm going to play it and sing it so that you could also use it as an opportunity to practice along either with the solfege or with playing it on the piano or with playing the left hand while I'm playing the right hand and singing the solfege, or singing the left hand solfege while I'm singing the right hand solfege. So you can get all kinds of practice opportunities out of this portion of the video simply by, make a note of what the timing is, what the timestamp is for this, and just go back to it and try different things and have a little fun. And the more you get comfortable with your baby steps, the faster you put it together, hands together. So here we have do, do, re, re, fa, mi, re, do, so, so, fa, mi, re, do, mi, re, do, ti, do. I'll take the repeat for the practice. Do, do, re, fa, mi, re, do, so, so, fa, mi, re, do, mi, re, do, ti, do. Do, do, ti, ti, la, ti, do, la, sol, sol, fa, mi, re, do, mi, re, do, ti, do. Do, do, ti, ti, la, ti, do, la, sol, sol, fa, mi, re, do, mi, re, do, ti, do. So there's your right hand. Here's your left hand. Do, ti, sol, la, ti, do, sol, do, do, ti, sol, la, ti, do, sol, do, la, do, sol, do, fa, do, mi, do, la, ti, do, sol, do, la, do, sol, do, fa, do, mi, do, la, ti, do, sol, do. Okay, now if you're interested in the harmonies, the 1 chord is G, B, D, the 5 chord is D, F sharp, A, the 4 chord is C, E, G, but he's used a couple, I think, sort of implied harmonies here that are even more advanced than that. And that would be the 6 chord, which is E, G, B, and the 2 chord, which is A, C, E. So I'm going to play this now with just some harmonies underneath it, and I'll play the melody. So there's 1, the 5 chord in first inversion, 1, and then 6 chord is E, G, B, going to the 2 chord, which is C, E, G, 5. This is a typical cadential chord pattern, 6, 2, 5, 1. And then over here, what sounds best to me is the 3 chord, which is, no, it's not the 3 chord. What was I thinking? Oh my goodness, I have to redo this. I was doing something else, but I don't even remember what it was. It was the 6 chord, E, G, B. Okay. 6, 1, even though there's an F sharp there, underneath this is a 1, 6, 4 chord, D, G, implied B, 4, 1, 6, 6, 2, 5, 1. And there's a lot of non-harmonic tones, tones you have to identify as non-harmonic tones if you go with that 6 there, but I just kind of like it, so you might want to do something else. Okay, so if you know harmony enough for that, good, and if not, you can figure it out as we go along. So then to put it hands together, I would first of all do actually just the downbeat of each measure hands together. So it would be like 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 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 then, because that doesn't sound very good, try just the first beat and the second beat, or beat 1 and beat 3 if you're counting in 4, or beat 1 and beat 2. So I'll show you it. Let's see, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. So. And after that, it shouldn't be too hard to put it slowly hands together. 1 and 2 and. Because of all of the stuff that's going on in here, I would actually recommend that when you go to learning it hands together, you start with this measure. Even if you have to write the fingering here, 4 to 1. And then add this measure. I'm just going to do a couple of these and show you how this would work. And you do that until you're comfortable with it and you can do it. Then you're going to do this one. Together like that, you'll find it much less frustrating than if you try to start here, because here you're going to the end, so you'll always be going to what you know better and finish it, whereas here you'll be struggling to go forward like walking through mud, and that will be less fun. So if you want to hear it faster, there's another video with just this piece being played faster. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And following this section of the video, there's going to be a rabbit hole that I went down because I wanted to start introducing information about Alexander Reinagle and his life and how did he come to be in the colonies, the early Americas, American nation, and what did he contribute to our cultural life. So I got stuck right at the beginning of his life with who were the members of his family. So please hit the like button, and if you would like more videos like this or other related to music piano teaching ideas, please subscribe, and I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you for watching. Now that I'm up to number 11 of Alexander Reinagle's Short and Easy Preludes, I thought we might all enjoy knowing a little bit more about him as a person. And I decided to start with where he was born and his parents, and immediately went down a huge rabbit hole because most of his brothers also had careers in the arts, and it is kind of interesting. So Alexander Robert Reinagle was born into a family of musicians in Portsmouth, England on April 23rd, 1756. His father, Joseph Reinagle, is believed to have been born around 1720 in what was called the Holy Roman Empire, which at that time was ruled by the Habsburg family until 1806, when Napoleon relieved them of being in that position exactly. So some sources say that Joseph was born in Germany, other sources say he was born in Austria, and other sources say he was born in Hungary, and the confusion is understandable because all of those areas, well, first of all, were probably not known by their modern day names, and secondly, they were part of the Holy Roman Empire. So he could have, and also he tended to travel, so he could have been from all of those places. He died in 1775 in Edinburgh, Scotland, and he spent much of his adult life in Edinburgh, going back and forth between Edinburgh and Portsmouth, England in particular, but other places as well in England. So he became a French horn player and a trumpet player. He was a music teacher, and he at some point left Germany or wherever he was in that part of Europe and moved to Scotland. And at some point before 1748, he married a young lady named Annie Laurie, who is said to be a part of the Ramsay clan. In 1748, their first child, Philip, was born. And by 1751, they are registered as living in Edinburgh across from the Linen Hall. However, they didn't stay in one place very long, and they tended, like I said before, they tended to go back and forth between places in Scotland and places in England. So, that being said, when the oldest son, Philip, decided to become an artist, he came to London in 1763, and after he served his apprenticeship, he was made a member of the Royal Academy, which is why, when you look him up, because he was famous, after his name there's an R.A., and that stands for Royal Academy. And he was known for his paintings of botanical scenes, animals, and landscapes. In 1771, when he was 23, he married a young lady named Jane Austen, not the Jane Austen of novel fame, and she was only 17, but I guess that was when young ladies got married. They did have a large family, and Philip lived a long life and died in 1833 in Chelsea, Middlesex, England, at age 85. The second daughter, that would be the older sister for Alexander, was named Maria Anna Theresa, and she was born in Gosport, Hampshire, England. And when she was 19, she married the cellist, who's got a nice long name, Johann Friedrich Georg Christoph Schetke. They were married in Edinburgh, Scotland on January 26, 1774. And he comes to play a little bit later in one of the other brothers of Alexander Reinagle. They had a third child who was born in Portsea, Hampshire, England in 1755, but died the same year. Alexander Reinagle was their fourth child, and he was born in 1756 in Portsmouth, Hampshire, England, and he's the composer of these pieces we've been learning, as well as many other works. He eventually came to the United States and had a successful career as a composer, teacher, and music entrepreneur. And we'll get into more of that in following videos. He died in Baltimore, Maryland on September 21st, 1809. By 1760, the family was back in Scotland, and the fifth child, Hugh, was born in Preston Pass, Lothian, Scotland, which happens to be also the birthplace of the mom, Annie Laurie. So when he grew up, he first tried a career as a midshipman on a sailing vessel and then decided to go into music. And he had a successful career as a cellist until he passed away at age 24 in Lisbon, Portugal. But the following year, 1761, the Reinagles were back in Portsmouth, England, where their sixth child, which would be Alexander's younger brother, was born. And he initially was apprenticed to a jeweler and then decided to go into music. And he started off by learning to play the French horn and trumpet with his father, but health concerns led him to switch to the cello. And people generally did often have respiratory health concerns in those days. It wasn't a terribly healthy time. And his first cello teacher was his brother-in-law, the one with the long name and whose last name was Chetke. And Joseph died in Oxfordshire on November 12, 1825, after a very successful and wide-ranging career in music, which included a stint as being the principal cellist of the orchestra that performed under Joseph Haydn. Those were called the Salomon concerts. When Haydn retired, this is a whole other rabbit hole, when Joseph Haydn retired, he was able to take 2 trips to England that were sponsored by a person who organized them. And he had his music was played by orchestras, and this Joseph Reinagle, the son, was the principal cellist in that orchestra. And he did name one of his sons after our Alexander, Robert Reinagle, and you will find biographies of that one as well, so it's important to not get them confused. And that son was an organist and hymn tune composer who ended up serving St. Peter's in Oxford, England from 1823 to 1853, which means he was darn good. The Reinagle parents had 2 other children, Andrew, born in 1762, and Benjamin, born in 1765, and that's all we know about them, so my guess is that they did not survive. So as you can see, our Alexander Reinagle came from a family of gifted and successful musicians, composers, and artists, and he brought that rich legacy along with him to the young American colonies, and that included introducing America to the music of Haydn and Mozart, which you can tell from this brief introduction, some of his brothers knew at least Haydn personally. And also, I saw that our Reinagle was the first composer of piano sonatas in the United States. So I hope you enjoyed that little tidbit. And I'm sorry I had to read my notes. A lot of people, a lot of names, a lot of dates. And when I get to the next prelude, I'll add more to the biographical information right there at the end. Thank you. And if you did enjoy this video, please like, please comment. Any feedback is welcome. And if you feel like it, subscribe.